Welcome in, boys, to a late night edition. Well, it'll be morning for you all, but recording time is a little late night pod for Clayton and I here. Quite a bit later than I think we've ever recorded one of these.
Yeah, this is definitely starting pretty late. I know the first one we started pretty late just because we had to retry and figure everything out, but this is the latest one we've done in a while for sure.
Yeah, had some sound issues, but I think we've got it figured out. So, wanted to make sure we got our second episode of the weekend, get our picks out there, and just have share our thoughts with the boys.
Always.
Alrighty. Well, let's get into it then. As per usual, on the second show of the week, we're starting off with waivers. And we had a kind of a slower waiver week this week. It looks like only Casey really was, I guess you and Casey were mostly
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah, so we got Casey. I mean, he lost Tucker Kraft last week, so you can see the tight end movement on him. Um, I was kind of messing around with wide receiver with Juwan Jennings there, and then Casey outbid me just a couple dollars for the Browns defense, but nothing too crazy there. Scott also looks like he added Sam Darnold for his another quarterback for him.
Yeah, to kind of replace Jaden there. Browns play the Jets this week, if I'm not mistaken, so they've got a pretty good matchup there. That makes sense. And then Colson Loveland had a very nice week last week against the Bengals with the Bears. So hopefully a good replacement there for Casey. And I was kind of looking at Jawan Jennings. I was kind of hoping he didn't get picked up because I've got some buy stuff going on this week, but figured he wouldn't make it all the way to Sunday.
Nope, and he's in my starting lineup.
Yeah. Okay. We'll,
Yep.
we'll have some more info on him coming soon then. Let's get into these matchups then. We're starting up. We'll get right into you. So tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, well, kind of went against the superstitiousness of last week and picked myself this week. I'll just go through my team real quick. I think Drake May is going to have to put up some points against what I think is a very good Tampa Bay defense, but I think Drake May is going to have to put up some points. Stevenson's out again, so Henderson draws back another week in my lineup. I got Judkins back against the Jets, who I think have given up on this season, so hopefully he just goes crazy.
No more quitting.
I'm just
That definitely helps.
yeah, yeah. I'm dealing with the bye with CD Lamb, and so you got DJ Moore in there. Amon-Ra's in the flex, but very well could be in the wide receiver position. I was going back and forth, I will admit, with Juwan Jennings and George Kittle. Those DJ Moore and Amon-Ra were locked, and Tyler Warren was locked. But I was going back and forth between the wide receiver and the tight end there, and I'm leaning more towards the wide receiver. Kittle's kind of been up and down, and Jawan looks healthier every week, so I'll keep him going. But I like my team this week, even without Lamb, and part of that is Sutton only with four with Cub.
Yep, we are getting the benefit of the doubt with the Thursday game already being played here. One of the ugliest Thursday games I've ever seen in my entire life, and really makes you question, you know, have the Broncos beaten anybody other than the Eagles?
I I mean, I keep hearing all this stuff about Bo Nix. He's better than Drake May, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Drake May did lose to the Raiders in week one, but since then, Drake May has looked really, really good. I know Bo Nix has a little bit more on the resume, so not that I don't like Bo Nix. I keep hearing he's better than Drake May, and then he keeps doing these performances where I'm just not impressed, or he has to become a hero in the fourth quarter because it's such a slow start in the other quarters. So um,
Against some, we'll say, lesser competition to be kind
yeah,
about
and
it.
to be fair, Drake May has not played too many other good. He does have the Buffalo win, so that was good. I am interested to see him in Tampa Bay um, against the Bucks, but yeah. So um, I don't think Josh Allen's going to have to do much either for Cub. I like the Philly defense, but I do also like Josh Jacobs. I think Josh Jacobs is solid. I saw DeAndre Swift is back, so we'll
Yeah.
see what Kyle Mangiapane does. Justin Jefferson gets the Baltimore defense. I have no idea. I definitely butchered that name. We'll see what Justin Jefferson can do against Baltimore, who looked better defensively a week ago, but we all know that defense hasn't looked
Yeah.
good. And then Walker with the 50-50 split there. It seems like they trust Charbonnet more around the goal line. So, but I don't know. I feeling rather optimistic, you could say.
I see this one being close.
Oh,
I
I agree. I definitely agree.
I feel kind of the same confidence that you did. Obviously, picked you for the week. Just like your matchups, a little bit more kind of like what you went over. I don't think Manangai has, which is I think how you say it is Manangai. Yeah,
I don't know where Mangiapane. I don't even. That's a different sport, I think.
you tried. You've never been the best with names that you don't know. Um, but yeah, I think you've got a good shot this week at keeping your winning streak alive and getting more into. This has a big playoff implication game here for somebody who goes 2-0 versus 0-2. Could be a big difference there in the standings come next week. All right.
Definitely.
Then we got Bo and Joey, somebody who's riding a heater versus someone who is still sitting in 10th, unfortunately. But I picked Joey, so I'll go over his team real quick. Genty had a nice game for him against the Broncos. He was maybe the Broncos defense was the best performer in that game, but other than that, I think Genty might have been the top scorer of the night, and he didn't do all that much, so that says something. But then Joey with James Cook pulling Miami, they should be pretty weak. I think they traded away some players too at the deadline that looked like they were not looking to compete this year as much. JSN, I've loved the JSN in Joey's lineup since week 3 or 4 when it became very evident that he was going to be for real this year. And then Jalen Warren in Joey's flex, he's been very good when he's been healthy this year. Got some nice projections, and I think Joey gets it done again. That keeps riding the high of the last few weeks that he's had since the trade. The one spot that worries me, well, that had already happened was Brock Bowers only getting 2. Hate to see that after such a big week last week. And then Daniel Jones against Atlanta. I imagine that game being in Germany will be lower scoring in general. So if he has less of a chance for touchdowns or Jonathan Taylor just takes all of them, then maybe that's tough to push that 20-point projection.
Yeah, I'll go with Bo. Um, Brock Bowers, the 2 points out of him was part of it. I mean, we've seen Joey kind of have the bounce back, even with not high performing Brock Bowers. Obviously not counting last week, but Brock Bowers went for 30 plus. But I like Stafford. He's been balling lately. He's got Gibbs and Barkley this week, both in his lineup, which I don't think because of bias he's been able to do too much.
I was gonna say Bo's
Um,
team finally looks complete again. It's felt like it was
yeah,
missing someone every week for the past few.
yep. I will say, I don't know what New England plans to do with the Mecca, if Gonzo is going to be kind of on him or if they're going to kind of move a Mecca around. I think Gonzo primarily will just play the outside of, so if they put a Mecca in the slot, he would not have to go against Gonzo. So that'll be interesting to see. I think the game on Monday will be high-ish scoring. I do like the Philly defense and I do like the Packers defense, but I think it'll be competitive where they'll have to throw the football. So I don't mind Romeo in the wide receiver 2 spot. The flex with Kamara is
That
my
scares me.
favorite. Not my favorite, especially after 0 points last week. I know that's kind of Bo's guy, and he doesn't have too many other options. Trey Tucker has already played. McLaurin's out. Kareem Hunt's on bye, so he's only got Josh Downs there. Um, I don't know. I maybe would have considered Downs over Kamara, but interesting stuff. The other reason I kind of did this pick is to be different, try and get a game back on Ryan. So um, I don't know. Throw a flyer out there.
Pulls
I
the
think it could be
Carolina
close.
defense, who has been hit or miss this year.
Yeah, and
Had good games, had bad games. They played really well last week, so maybe this is one of their down games.
yeah.
Cool. Well, yep. So we'll see who takes that one. Then we've got some agreement for the next game. We're both going Sam over Scott, who is actually tied with Bo in terms of record, but I guess he's got more points, so he's sitting in ninth. Sam sitting right on the outside of the playoff picture in seventh. We both picked Sam. I'll go over Scott's team real quick then, just to give the overview. I do think this will be another close one. I think now that some buys are ending, we're going to see more complete teams and get back to what we had at the beginning of the year, where we had less blowouts. I think um, you get Montgomery versus Washington. I think that could be a really good game for Scott's running back two there, because Detroit should handle them pretty easily. Nico, I worry about a little bit against Jacksonville because that defense has been good, and it's going to be Davis Mills playing quarterback. Zach Ertz, I want nothing to do with any Washington skill players in my lineup, so Scott, more power to you. But I could see Kyron having a good game against San Francisco, with that being a competitive one, and then Rashad White in the New England game. Bucky's still out, so he should get the majority of the touches and see what he can do with him. Maybe he falls in the end zone a couple of times and gives Scott that swing.
Yeah, I will say on Scott's team before I get hit to Sam's team, I do not believe Rashad White is the guy to break the 50 plus yards against the New England defense. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a touchdown. So I think he's kind of touchdown dependent this week. If he gets one or if he doesn't get one, he'll have a good week. So didn't necessarily love that matchup. Obviously, Patriots fan though, so definitely biased.
No, I
Um,
agree with you there.
Yeah, and then agree with the what you said about Nico Collins. He could potentially have a bad week, but I do like Darnold against Arizona, and as you said, the two running backs I think could have good games. But going to Sam's team, the reason I picked him is Jared Goff against a Washington team who I don't think is that good, so I think he'll be fine. I think A-Chain will have to be used a ton in Buffalo, both running and receiving, and maybe even garbage time at that point too. He might get some
Right.
just nice little catches and stuff. Aaron Jones, I thought has looked pretty good coming back. I know he's riding a questionable tag right now, but looked good last week, 9 rushes for 78 yards. So I don't really mind Aaron Jones as RB2. You got Puka, who's just balling. Zay Flowers with a healthier Lamar Jackson again. Hunter Henry in a game where I think we will have to throw the football. Michael Pittman, who's just been killing it. Um, so I just, I don't know. I guess I like Sam's team a little bit better this week. Part of it is the Nico Collins matchup there, and then just the Rashad White flex, and just I don't know. Pittman in the flex right now just seems like too good to be true at this point. He is
Right.
um, wide receiver six. You could maybe argue that Flowers is actually Sam's wide receiver three there, but um, with a healthy Lamar, Zay Flowers is pretty solid.
Wow. I didn't realize he'd climbed up all the way to six. That's impressive. They haven't had a bye yet. Other people have. There's been some
No,
injuries,
they
but
have the bye. Yeah, they have the bye week 11. So
so that could change up a little bit. But yeah, I do like. I agree with you on Sam's team overall. It'll be interesting to see. So they got both two guys. Well, one guy apiece on the Lions team that could each go for really big points, and another got kickers and defenses too. But the Lions like to beat up on people when they're winning. It seems like they don't mind running the score up. So sometimes that comes in the form of Goff getting 5 touchdowns. Sometimes that comes in the form of Montgomery getting 3. Be interesting to see if either one of them gets there to bounce back after their loss to Minnesota last week. Goff was a guy who I was considering getting into my quarterback spot this week, but Sam beat me to it. All right. Then we've got Lucas and Tanner. We both took Lucas,
uh,
but I'll let you start.
Yeah, yeah. I'll start on Tanner's team since you took Scott last time. I think the biggest thing here is we got to see um, Thursday night, and I will say he did have the Denver Broncos, which you are right, scored the most points in
Yeah,
that game as the defense with 19. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if he can be that mad walking away with 29, like total. When you think about it, it's like each player kind of getting
10
10, and at
apiece.
that point, you're like, eh. I will say J.K. Dobbins has been a pretty high level performer, and then R.J. Harvey, I think he was kind of projecting a touchdown there. I think he's had a couple in a row. I mean, obviously not including Thursday. So there's that. But I think seeing 10 out of your RB1 and RB2 combined is tough. I think AJ Brown actually has a good game this week, drawing back into the lineup. I don't know if Chicago is going to give the ball to Adunze or not. So that's interesting. I will say I do like the Lamar and K. Dotton matchup, but I think for me, it comes down to the Thursday night not getting either running back a touchdown kind of hurts, and I do really love Lucas's matchups, which you can go over.
Yeah, Lucas's team is looking pretty good. It's interesting to hit back on the Odunze thing. He has not done much since what was it, like week 3 or 4.
Yeah, DJ Moore has actually outscored him since exactly like what you said, week 3 or week 4. So
Yeah, he had sent
interesting.
that text to us, and I was shocked by it because it seemed like for a few, at least more than 3 weeks or so, that Odunze was doing really well. But yeah, must have dropped, has obviously dropped off pretty hard. And then Lucas's team, we all know Lucas has a solid squad here. Derrick Henry rounding back into form really makes his running backs look scary. Doesn't need to start Brees Hall anymore, which I think is probably a good decision. I think the Jets have kind of given up there. I would probably be close with him and Olave there for me in the flex. Um, but he gets Garrett Wilson back, who was looking great before he suffered that injury. Hopefully, he can get back into form. Drake London's been great. I do think, again, that game could be a little bit weird and lower scoring, so maybe that's a chance that he doesn't have as big of a performance as last week. And then, interesting for me on Lucas's side is if this sticks, he's starting Jackson Dart over Jalen Hurts when they're both playing. And the Chicago defense did look pretty bad last week against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati's offense has been great. Uh, the Giants definitely don't have the same weapons that they do on the outside, but Dart's been good. He has some rushing capability as well, so he gets some points there. I just think with the such poor performance on Thursday night from the Broncos puts Tanner at a big disadvantage here against a team that was already probably most likely going to win.
Yeah, I'll also touch on Trey McBride with Jacoby Brissett. I think that's a huge I think that's
It
a
is.
big upgrade for McBride having Brissett in and as you saw, I mean, last week he had 13 and then they had the bye in week 8 and then 25 with Green Bay when they play Green Bay. So I think that's a huge upgrade for him. Drake London looked like a stud, but I think the Colts D with Sauce is that will be
Yeah.
a pretty good defense. I was kind of looking at Lucas's other options for we'll say flex because I think it'd be tough to not play Garrett Wilson, but we'll say flex. And maybe we do a little wager on this one. But okay, in the flex, his options would be Brees Hall, Jordan Mason, Jordan Addison, or Chris Olave. I'll let you pick the first one on who you think out of those four players scores the most points. Olave, Brees, Jordan Mason, and Addison.
I'd almost want Addison.
Okay, so if you take Addison, I honestly think he has it right with Olave. I'm
I
gonna
was
say that. So
close there. Yeah, I was. That's the two I was between was Olave and Addison. The
I think
Cleveland
he has
defense
it
is
right.
just so good, especially
Yeah,
against the
I
run.
just I think he has it right. Originally, I was like, ooh, but I think he has it right. So obviously, I think Lucas. thinks Olave is going to score the most points too. So, but who knows? Maybe we'll chalk that one up just for fun in our little win-loss thing, or
Yeah, we can
come
put it
up
in
with
there.
something. Come up with something. We'll see. But a little bet there. I'll take Olave. You got Addison, and just play a fun little side game.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. Alrighty, and then we're consistent on who we think's gonna win there. Getting into our last game of the week, we do have a split game of the week.
Okay, before you even say anything, how can I pick you right now when you have no quarterback on your team that is playing football this week? I know you're going to make a move. I mean, you have to.
Have to.
I guess you don't have to. You're 15-3, so I guess if you want to just punt one, you probably could. But that's why I picked Casey. I gotta admit, I like if I get rid of the quarterbacks, I think I'd like your team more. Obviously, Taylor, Bijan, yeah, I'd take those running backs over Casey's. Although, Rico and ETN, sure, those are
Yeah, Rico's
solid.
been
But
awesome.
then, oh yeah, the other reason I had to pick Casey is Brian Thomas isn't playing. He's in your starting line, so there's three people right now in your lineup that aren't playing. So it's tough not to pick Casey. I will say I like Harrison now, but I'll just go to Casey's team. Herbert's looked really good lately. Dowdle's looked really good lately. I think ETN has a tough matchup against Houston. I like Adams against San Fran. I think that Patriots game, I think Drake May's gonna have to throw the ball. Diggs is one of the best pass catchers, or he probably is the best pass catcher on the Patriots. So I like that. Loveland, I think Chicago is going to get him going. I think it was after the bye. I think they're going to get him going. Quentin Johnson, he's an interesting one. I really think now the Chargers are going more through Lad, but
He's hard
if
to trust,
those two,
but
yeah,
he's a big
exactly.
play guy for sure.
If Herbert and Quentin can get a touchdown, especially like you said, a big play touchdown, it'll make it tough. Um, Browns defense against the Jets might be the best matchup of the week. So, like I said, I'm picking Casey for that reason. I will say one more thing. I'm giving myself the ability to change my pick after I see a real roster from you because, I mean, what I'm looking at now, there's no way I can pick you. If you make some moves tomorrow, maybe I'll send something in the group chat or send something to you. We'll timestamp it or something. But
Perfect.
as of now, I can't pick you with three players not playing football tomorrow in your lineup.
That's fair. That's fair. I got hit pretty hard by the buys this week. Chiefs are on bye. We all know I like to load up on Chiefs players. Um, and coupled with the Scadaboo injury, that's kind of just made some things tough here. But we're gonna work through them. We always do. The lineup will be full tomorrow. Get to see who's playing. I just didn't want to give anybody free easy chances to pick up players that I want to at least be able to compete for on waivers come Tuesday evening next week. So we'll see what moves get made. Um, I'm picking myself still because I do know what players are gonna. I have an idea of what players are gonna come in, and I still think that it gives me a good shot here against Casey. And then I'm just really hoping to have a great start tomorrow. Before the morning, well, the late morning games even start. Um, with Bijan and Jonathan Taylor facing off against each other in London or Berlin, I think this time around. Um, it seems like offenses don't run great, and maybe they'll just I don't know stick to the run, have a slower game, pound it out. Each get over 100 yards. That would be my dream scenario there. They have had 1 week together since I've had both of them where they both had really nice games. But other than that, it's usually been one or the other going off. So we'll see how that goes. Waddle against Buffalo, I think they're going to have to score some points there. It's nice that they're at home this time for it. They don't have to go up to Buffalo. I'm hoping I can get in on some of the Detroit trouncing of Washington with Laporta. He had a great game last week, and doubling down on Brissett. Kind of believe as well that he sees that Marv is the best receiver that they've got, and hopefully can keep getting him involved. So I'll stick
Yeah,
with
I think
myself for now.
just I think the biggest thing there with the Brissett and Harrison is I think sometimes Kyler he's doing too much, and I think Marv is really a guy who's just on time, runs his route, you know, I don't know if Marv can do a bunch, outside and creatively. And they honestly haven't had a lot of time together, so maybe that's part of it. But I think Brissett just plays on time. And I think with a guy like Marvin Harrison, who is a decent route runner, but not necessarily like a guy who I think is like barn burner, super creative type of guy. I think when you have a guy who can play on time is beneficial to Marv.
Yeah, and that's probably a skill that you develop over, like you said, rapport with the quarterback. Once you kind of
Yeah.
know their tendencies, you can help them out when they start scrambling like that. And Kyler's been hurt. I think Marv had some injuries last year too, so they haven't had the full slate together. So I don't know. I think Kyler. I think it's pretty obvious that Kyler never plays for the Cardinals again. Be interesting to see who they get next year, if they stick with Brissett or if they draft somebody, if they have a bad enough year to end off here.
Yeah. And it'll be curious where Kyler goes. Like, does the guy go play baseball?
I think that ship might have sailed, but maybe I'd love to have him on the Royals. I'll say that much right now. I would love to see him go to Kansas City. Alrighty, so we got another chance for Clayton to make up a game there, and to get into the summary picks here. Pretty similar. Casey does get a maybe. We'll give Clayton that option to change tomorrow once he sees the full lineup. And yeah, we're going into this week with six. I'm 6 games up, so and we're potentially 2 games different.
Yeah. Yep. Um, yeah, we'll see what you throw out tomorrow morning ish time. I don't know exactly when all this is going down, but I'll maybe shoot me a text when you have a full roster so I can
It'll be
take a
before
look.
11 a.m. Mountain Time. That's for sure.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I'll take a look and see what you threw together, but I couldn't I couldn't in my right mind pick somebody with 3 guys in their starting lineup on Saturday at albeit 11:20.
I thought you'd have more faith in
It
me, Clay
just
Dog.
I have faith. That's why I gave myself the maybe, but I was just like, I don't know, maybe I don't know, who knows? Maybe he forgets. I don't know. I don't know. I was scared.
Fair enough. Alrighty. Well, let's wrap it up then. Let's get into week 10. This is the start of the second half of the season now, where we separate the men from the boys. And let's have a good week 10.
Yep, I need it. I need it.
All right, gentlemen. Well, as always, let's hope for no injuries to anybody. Have a good week. Enjoy Sunday. This will kind of be nice. It comes out, I think we'll schedule it for right before the games start, the 11 Mountain games start. It'd be nice to just start off your Monday with both some NFL football and
Sunday.
a new episode of the pod.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Love it. Well, I'll talk to you soon, Clayton, and talk to the rest of the boys tomorrow.
All right. Good luck, everyone.
Sounded good. In
That's
my
good,
ear.
man.